Chapter 1. The Quiet Town. Clearwater, Colorado was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's name. The trees stood tall and quiet, the streets were clean, and the coffee at Annie's Cafe was always hot by 7 a.m. Life in Clearwater was simple, maybe too simple. People trusted easily, smiled often, and believed the best in everyone. Jacob Turner sat by the window of the cafe as he did every morning. A retired teacher in his 50s, Jacob had lived in Clearwater all his life. He was known for being kind, honest, and just a little too curious. Some called him Mr. Owl for the way he watched people from behind his glasses. One morning, the town buzzed with a new kind of excitement. A woman had arrived. Her name was Evelyn Hart. She was in her late 30s, beautiful in a way that didn't seem fake. Her voice was soft, her smile warm. She told the townspeople she had moved from Chicago, looking for peace and a place to give back. She wasn't just friendly, she was helpful. Within 2 weeks, she had organized a cleanup day for the park, donated books to the school, and even helped an old man fix his roof. People loved her. They said, "She's an angel," or "God must have sent her." Jacob, too, was impressed at first. Evelyn was polite, always greeting him with, "Good morning, Mr. Turner." But something in her eyes made him pause. She smiled, yes, but it never quite reached her eyes. Then Evelyn announced she was starting a charity foundation for children in need. She called it Hearts of Hope. She gave a touching speech in the town hall, saying, "Every child deserves love, safety, and a future. I want to help build that future right here in Clearwater." People clapped. Some even cried. Money came pouring in. Local businesses offered sponsorships. Volunteers signed up. Jacob watched. He didn't say anything, not yet, but he noticed small things. One day, he saw Evelyn drive past the grocery store and toss something in the trash. It looked like unopened food donations. Another time, he heard her tell the mayor she was going to Denver for a charity meeting. But Jacob saw her that same day having lunch at a luxury restaurant, alone. Still, the town adored her. It's probably nothing, Jacob told himself. But in his gut, something didn't feel right. He looked at the photo in his wallet. His late wife, Mary. She used to tell him, "When something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Truth has a quiet voice, but it never lies." Jacob folded the photo back in and sipped his coffee. Something was wrong with Evelyn Hart, and Jacob Turner had just decided he was going to find out what. Chapter 2. The Masked Kindness. Evelyn Hart quickly became the heart of Clearwater. In just a month, her charity, Hearts of Hope, had raised over $50,000. She said the money would be used to buy school supplies, clothes, and food for children in nearby rural areas. She showed pictures of smiling kids holding backpacks and new shoes. People were proud of her, proud of themselves for helping. Evelyn gave speeches at churches and schools. She was always well-dressed, but never flashy. She spoke with emotion. She told the story of how her younger brother had died from poverty when she was a child, a story that made even the toughest men in town wipe away tears. No one doubted her. No one except Jacob Turner. Jacob never said anything out loud. He still smiled and nodded when Evelyn walked by, but he kept watching. One day, Jacob visited the town library. He wanted to learn more about Evelyn's past. She said she came from Chicago, so he asked the librarian if anyone named Evelyn Hart had recently transferred documents or records to Clearwater. Nothing official. No school records, no business licenses, nothing. That was odd. If she ran a charity, wouldn't she need paperwork? Later that week, Evelyn hosted a big event in the park. She called it the Hearts of Hope Family Day. There were games, food stands, music, and speeches. Kids were running everywhere, laughing and eating cotton candy. Jacob sat on a bench, watching. Evelyn walked on stage and said, "Thanks to all of you, children across this state are getting the help they need. We've already helped over 200 kids, and we're just getting started." The crowd cheered, but Jacob frowned. 200 kids? That number seemed high. Jacob had been a teacher for over 30 years. He knew how small these programs usually started, and no one in town had actually seen any of these children. No thank you letters, no real names, just pictures. Later, Jacob asked Evelyn if he could visit one of the families the charity had helped. She paused, then smiled. "Of course, Mr. Turner. I'll check with the families and get back to you." She never did. Jacob waited a week, then 2. Nothing. When he asked again, she said the families were too shy and didn't want visitors. That night, Jacob opened a notebook and started writing. Dates, names, events, details. He had nothing solid yet, just a feeling. But that feeling was growing stronger. A few days later, Jacob saw Evelyn counting envelopes full of cash in her car, just outside the town's old post office. She looked around nervously, then quickly shoved them into her purse. Something was definitely wrong. Clearwater had given Evelyn its trust, but Jacob Turner wasn't ready to give it her. He would keep digging, quietly, carefully, because sometimes the people who seem the kindest wear the best masks. Chapter 3. The Cracks Appear. The days in Clearwater were growing colder, but Jacob Turner's mind stayed sharp and alert. It had been almost 2 months since Evelyn Hart arrived in town. In that short time, she had become a hero. People greeted her like a celebrity. Children hugged her legs, and local newspapers printed her photo under titles like "The Angel of Clearwater." But not everyone was smiling. One afternoon, Tommy Wells, a 9-year-old boy who lived near the edge of town, got very sick. His family was poor. They couldn't afford proper food or medicine. Jacob knew them well. He used to tutor Tommy in math after school. Jacob visited the Wells family and asked if Evelyn's charity had helped them. Mrs. Wells shook her head slowly. "We tried. I filled out the application twice. Never heard back." Jacob blinked. "But Evelyn said she helped over 200 families," he said gently. Mrs. Wells gave a weak laugh. "If she did, they sure don't live round here." That night, Jacob took out his notebook. He made a list of families in town who might have needed help, families he knew personally. One by one, he visited them or called them. None of them had received help from Hearts of Hope. Not one. Meanwhile, Evelyn continued to post photos of children holding new jackets and toys. The pictures looked real, but something about them seemed strange. The same background appeared in many photos. The children's faces looked blurred, as if the images had been edited. Jacob printed out one photo. He brought it to Annie, the cafe owner's niece. She was studying graphic design at a local college. Annie examined the photo carefully. "This is fake," she said, pointing to the edges. "See this shadow? It's been added digitally. This boy wasn't even in this picture originally." Jacob's heart sank. If the photos were fake, were the stories fake too? Later that week, Jacob stood in the back of a town hall meeting. Evelyn was there, giving another powerful speech about kindness and generosity. She wore a red scarf and smiled as she accepted another check, this time for $10,000, donated by a church group. The crowd clapped. Some stood up and cheered. Jacob remained seated. He wasn't angry, not yet. He was focused. After the meeting, he walked outside and waited near Evelyn's car. She didn't notice him in the shadows. She got into her car, pulled out the check, and snapped a photo with her phone. Then she made a call. "Yeah," she said into the phone. "Another 10 grand. This town's easier than Florida." She paused. No one suspects a thing. They believe every word I say." Jacob's blood ran cold. Florida. So there had been another town before this. And another lie. He walked home in silence, his footsteps slow, his heart heavy. The cracks were showing. But would the town see them? Or would they wait until everything broke? Chapter 4. Digging Deeper. Jacob Turner no longer had just a feeling. He had a direction. The word Florida kept ringing in his head. Evelyn had said it so casually on the phone, like a secret she didn't care to hide. But Jacob cared, and he had questions that needed answers. That night, he made a decision. He called Samuel Riggs, an old friend and former police officer who had retired in Florida. "Sam, I need a favor," Jacob said. "Do you have access to old case files?" Sam laughed on the other end. "Depends. What are you looking for?" A woman, Evelyn Hart, or someone who might have used a different name back then. She's running a fake charity here in Colorado, and I think she's done it before." There was silence. Then Sam said, "Let me check." 2 days later, Sam called back. "Her real name is Elena Harper. She changed it 5 years ago. She ran a fake nonprofit for hurricane victims in Miami, raised over $100,000, and disappeared before the state could arrest her. She was never caught." Jacob sat in his armchair, gripping the phone tightly. He had known something was wrong, but this was bigger than he thought. Elena Harper, now Evelyn Hart, was a professional con artist. Jacob knew it was time to bring this to the sheriff, Sheriff Malone, a tall, quiet man who had known Jacob for years. Jacob brought his notes, the photos, and Sam's report. But the sheriff frowned. "This is serious, Jacob, but it's not enough. We need hard proof. A bank record, a recorded confession, something we can use in court." Jacob understood. Feelings and suspicions weren't enough. He needed facts. So he made a plan. Jacob created a fake identity, Mr. Robert Ellis, a wealthy man from Denver who wanted to donate $25,000 to Hearts of Hope. He opened a new email, borrowed a friend's phone number, and even printed fake business cards. He contacted Evelyn as Robert, praising her work and asking to meet. She agreed immediately. They met at a small cafe outside of town. Jacob wore a hat, sunglasses, and used a deeper voice. Evelyn didn't recognize him at all. "It's so wonderful to meet people who care. Every dollar goes directly to helping children," she said sweetly. Jacob handed her a check, a fake one. It wouldn't actually withdraw money, but looked very real. "Before I donate, could I see a report or a list of the children you've helped?" Evelyn hesitated. Then she laughed nervously. "Of course, I'll have my assistant send it right away." She had no assistant. Jacob left the meeting with one goal: follow the money. He called Sam again and asked if he could trace the fake check's number. If Evelyn tried to deposit it into her personal account, they'd have evidence. A trap had been set. Now it was only a matter of time. Jacob sat by his window that evening, sipping tea. Clearwater's trust had been stolen, but not for much longer. Chapter 5. The Truth Revealed. Jacob Turner waited. Each morning he sat by the window with his cup of tea, watching the leaves fall from the trees. Autumn had come to Clearwater, painting the streets in orange and gold. But Jacob's focus wasn't on the beauty outside. It was on Evelyn Hart, or rather, Elena Harper. 3 days after their meeting, Samuel Riggs called. "She tried to deposit the check," Sam said, "into a private account under the name E. Harper. That's your proof." Jacob felt both relief and sadness. The truth was now clear, but so was the betrayal. He took everything: the photos, the audio recording from the cafe, the fake check deposit slip, and the Florida police file, and drove straight to Sheriff Malone's office. This time, the sheriff didn't hesitate. "This is solid," Malone said. "We're calling the State Fraud Unit. She won't slip away this time." The sheriff made the calls. Officers began monitoring Evelyn's movements. It didn't take long for her to act. The very next day, Evelyn closed her charity's office. She said she was moving operations to a bigger city and expanding her mission. She told reporters she had received a large donation and would be flying to New York, but she never planned to return. That night, Evelyn packed her bags, took her laptop, and left her rental house in a hurry. She drove to Denver International Airport with a one-way ticket under the name Sarah Allen. She thought she had fooled everyone again. But as she walked through the airport security line, 2 officers approached her. "Elena Harper?" one of them asked. She froze. "I'm sorry, you must be mistaken. You are under arrest for charity fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud." The officers showed the warrant and handcuffed her on the spot. Evelyn's fake passport dropped from her coat pocket. Back in Clearwater, the news spread like wildfire. The town was shocked, heartbroken. People gathered at the town hall, reading the headlines in disbelief. "Evelyn Hart caught in major fraud case." Many couldn't believe they'd been fooled. Some were angry, some were embarrassed, some cried. At the town meeting that evening, Sheriff Malone explained everything. Then he asked Jacob Turner to come forward. Jacob walked slowly to the front, holding his worn-out notebook. He looked at the people he had known all his life. "Friends," he said, "we wanted to believe in something good. That's not wrong. But sometimes evil hides behind a kind smile. We must never stop asking questions. Trust is earned, not given blindly." The room was silent. Then one person clapped, another, then the whole room. Jacob didn't smile, not fully, but he felt peace. The truth had come to light. Evelyn, or Elena, was gone, but the lesson remained. Chapter 6. The Lesson Remains. Winter arrived early in Clearwater. Snow fell softly on the rooftops, and holiday lights began to glow along the quiet streets. But even as the town dressed itself in joy and celebration, the people of Clearwater carried a new kind of wisdom in their hearts. The arrest of Evelyn Hart, or Elena Harper, had shaken the town. Some were still trying to understand how they could have been so easily fooled. Others were angry at themselves for not asking questions sooner. But they were not broken. Instead, they had become stronger. With Evelyn gone, her charity, Hearts of Hope, was officially closed. The money that remained in the account, about $8,000, was returned to the donors or redirected to real local charities with full transparency. This time, everything was public. Every dollar was tracked. Every decision was discussed. And at the center of it all stood Jacob Turner. He didn't want praise. He didn't want fame. But the people of Clearwater insisted. They organized a small event at the library, a place Jacob loved. There were no speeches from politicians, no banners or balloons, just a gathering of neighbors, old students, friends, and even strangers who came to say one simple thing: thank you. Annie, the cafe owner's niece, gave him a handmade plaque. It read, "To Jacob Turner, for listening to the truth when no one else could hear it." Jacob smiled and looked out at the crowd. He said, "I didn't do anything special. I just didn't close my eyes." He paused, then continued, "Evil doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers with a kind voice, but if one person listens carefully, that voice can be heard." A silence filled the room, not of confusion, but of understanding. Later that week, the town council invited Jacob to help start a new community fund, a real, honest program to help local families in need. It would be run by a team of volunteers, open books, and regular reports. Jacob agreed, but only on one condition. He said, "We don't do this in my name. We do this as a town, as people who've learned." And they did. Months passed, then years. Clearwater was never the same again. It became stronger, wiser, more careful, but it also became more united. People still trusted, but now they also verified. Jacob continued his morning walks, his window seat at Annie's cafe, and his quiet observations. He still carried Mary's photo in his wallet, and every time he passed the library, he smiled at the plaque on the wall. It reminded him and everyone else that truth may hide in shadows, but it never stays there forever. Thanks for watching. Take action today, not tomorrow. Press subscribe. And let's keep learning together. You're doing great. See you in the next one. Stay strong.